Is the SBA's aforementioned policy to leave small businesses that received EIDL loans under 100K still in play? And what's the latest news and policy that's going to affect your COVID EIDL 19 loan? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's good to see you all today on the speaknsee show. I ask you to like, subscribe, click that notification button so when I get information out, you can get information in, valuable information. Backed by unpopular demand from, say, maybe a million or two of you small business owners who got reamed over the coals during the whole COVID-19 Great Reset catastrophe for small businesses. I'm here answering your call and updating you on the progress of the EIDL loan forgiveness and the most recent moves of our ever so efficiently inadequate congressional legislative branch that has the inability to do the right thing without petitions or protests or national uproars, having to persuade them to follow the will of the people. So, before we look forward as to what the new proceedings have issued on EIDL loan borrowers, because there are new ones, we need to first take a deep breath, inhale, exhale, great, and look back on how we got the loans and grants to begin with. Let's clarify the understanding of how and what shape the decisions made in the past and how small businesses can reestablish control over their loans once again in the present and future. I'll keep it short in lieu of your time, but we have to set a foundation here. So first, in order to even get the loans and small grants, small businesses needed to work and campaign for the extra money to get funded into the SBA, which we did with grit, spit, and a whole lot of duct tape. It was granted. Second, for the 10K EIDL grant, small businesses needed to work and campaign and petition for the full 10K grants to be distributed, and it sort of worked as another $30 billion was allocated to the SBA. In the second bill, however, it had thrown a curveball in the bill, which said you had to be located in the purple zone. Well, we tried to get that policy map stricken from the bill, but it didn't get much attention, as you can see here. And third, small businesses needed more time and a more stable economy to even begin paying the loan back. So once again, we had to beg and plead for more time as the economy continues to even go downtrodden as we speak. Well, if you haven't noticed, we got that too. The 10% hardship payment being first implemented and then next extended. And even if you've noticed, as up to now, it's still an option for the 10% for those of you out there under 100K. There's the foundation. It's that simple. You got to fight for your rights, otherwise you lose them. Now here's where we stand today as far as the most recent SBA OIG report has come out. And it tells us what we're all up against, but even more importantly, it tells us what we have to do in order to succeed further negotiations for forgivenesses and extensions. Let's take a look at where we stand. The newest and latest just came out in September, I believe it was 29th. And to get a big picture of what they're doing here, if you remember, they said they weren't going to be going after COVID-19 economic injury disaster loans under $100,000. And the ones that were over $150,000 were going to get more attention. Okay, here's the new information, ladies and gentlemen. The memorandum that was just put out by the Small Business Administration and Isabel Guzman is the ending active collections on delinquent COVID-19 economic injury disaster loans. If you all remember back in the day, Isabel Guzman and the SBA said, we're not going to chase people that have loans under $100,000 or less. So it went to $150,000. And then after that, it was going to be like, okay, we're going to be making sure you guys are paying up and that you're legit. The fraud is what they were looking for. Okay, let's go over the first and second issues that they have. First, the SBA's decision to cease collections and risk violations of Debt Collection Improvement Act of 1996 prohibits the ending collections to fraudulent loans. So it prohibits it. They can't do it by law. They can't just say, we're not going to collect. It's also unclear whether the SBA plans to end active collections on loans or borrowers. See, we thought it was clear. You think it's clear one second, it's not clear the next, so they're just going about saying, we're not sure it's totally clear that we're not going to go after you. Second, the SBA's based its decision to end active collections on cost-benefit analysis used to dissimilar program and a private sector servicing model to estimate proceeds from collections and collection costs. The cost-benefits analysis did not include periodic comparisons of costs incurred, amounts of collection as federal regulations require. So what they're saying is, it's the same thing MasterCard, Visa, American Express, or any other debt collector would use, is they would sell their loans to private collectors that will now start, coming after you with your phone, throwing emails and phone calls out to you saying you need to pay up, or we're going to report you to the credit agency. That's the second option right now that they're looking at, and it's I don't like that at all, but that's what they're thinking of doing. That's the private sector loan servicing model, which would be good for those big companies, the big multi-million, billion-dollar companies. It'd be good for them, but probably wouldn't be good for American small businesses as a whole. Finally, the SBA does not appear to have fully evaluated its consultant recommendations to sell a portion. So it hasn't fully evaluated how much it would cost or what they would get back if they did sell the EIDL loan portfolio out and said, okay, we're going to wash our hands of this and just give it to the private sector to go and chase after small businesses for the EIDL loans. The SBA does intend to provide past due notices, due process letters, and demand letters to delinquent borrowers with a loan balance of $100,000 or less. So you would get notices from the SBA saying, hey, you owe us money. Where is it? It also continues to process SBA also plans to continue to process Uniform Commercial Code financing, statement modifications, and release requests after the borrowers to credit bureaus. So even if you don't pay under $100,000 loans, they will report you to the credit bureau and to the Department of Treasury on the do not pay list. So if you won't be getting any money from the IRS if they owe you money in taxes or what have you, but that's all a wash. It's going to go towards payment of your EIDL loan that you have failed to pay on. However, on April 27th, the 22nd, the SBA decided to cease other active collection activities such as foreclosure of property, collateral, and wage garnishment on all delinquent loans. So they wouldn't garnish your wages, they wouldn't take your property. That's kind of good. Active collection means that your debt is being collected through appropriate debt collection remedies, included but not limited to repossession of equipment and collateral litigation, and referral to the Treasury Bureau of the Fiscal Service, centralized collection and offset through Treasury Cross-Servicing Program and Treasury Offset Program, TTOP, described below. The SBA has decided it will not be performing those active collection activities with Treasury. It says down here, the SBA's rationale to end most of the active collection activities on delinquent COVID-19 EIDLs valued at $100,000 or less was that the cost of over $250 million per year, according to the SBA. So it was going to cost the SBA about $250 million to pursue these, to collect on the delinquent EIDLs. It would be likely more than to recover the amount. So they're saying they wouldn't recover as much as they were forking out. So it would be a bad business decision on the SBA's part to go after those under $100,000. And the SBA asserted its rationale for active collections was also to provide equitable treatment for smaller sole proprietor borrowers who are not protected by incorporation shield like incorporated borrowers are. The SBA is putting the sole proprietors here on the same level as incorporated. They're not letting the corporations get away with more than the sole proprietors, is what they're saying there. The SBA indicated there were about 1.3 million COVID EIDLs, 51% either past due, delinquent, in liquidation, or charged off, for a total of $33.4 billion as of May 9th, 2023. We're unable to validate this data. The SBA has already ended or will end collection on these loans if they remain delinquent, and as additional loans become due, this number is likely to grow. So they're still saying that there's a lot of money, $33.4 billion out there, that is looking like maybe fraudulent, hasn't even attempted to pay their loan or whatever. They're going to probably be looked at and flagged as fraud. I've always encouraged people, and still always will, if you got to do the hardship for 10%, but just don't ignore them. And if you're just ignoring them or listening to people telling you to ignore them, you're taking bad information. It's not good information to get. So here we can see in Figure 1 that the COVID EIDL of 100,000 or less as of May. There's a little stats for you. Here's how many loans were given out, how many loans are in liquidation. 6,404 loans are in liquidation. Wow. Almost 500,000 loans are delinquent. Charged off is 68,510,000 loans have been charged off. And just because they've been charged off, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean they're not going to come after you. It just means the SBA has washed their hands of it, and other, creditors and bureaus, and it will go on your record. They're going to still come after the charged off. Additionally, it was important the SBA identify all borrowers with multiple loans of 100,000 or less. When combined to exceed 100,000, subject to continued collection, we found 9.6 billion of 100,000 or less were made to 164,826 borrowers who received multiple COVID EIDLs exceeding 100,000 in total. So when you have one $50,000 loan, then a $51,000 loan on your second, pull from the draw, then you're over 100,000, and they're definitely coming after you. Down here, they go to say that, yeah, it's just not worth it for the SBA to chase after loans under 100,000. It just doesn't recover nearly as much as it puts out. Once again, they're saying that. So it really looks like they're looking out for the best benefits of the sole proprietors here, which is nice to see. Then it goes on to talk about the credit scores below 500 were worth 15%, almost 15% of the principal loan balance. If you've been delinquent for 180 days, it's going to the Treasury, and they will continue collection actions. Okay, this is kind of important here. Once the debt is referred to Treasury, SBA monitors the loan to ensure it remains valid and responds to borrowers' requests, but it does not continue any active collection actions. Defaulted loans are written off as uncollectible, and collection actions are transferred to the Treasury. Now, the recommendations that we're seeing here from Congress are ridiculous. It's saying whether or not collections exceed the recovery amounts, they still want to go recover them. So they'd rather pay extra money to go get the bad guys than to concentrate on other things and put the money towards something more useful. I mean, I agree with getting bad guys, but I don't think you don't pay more than what it's worth to do it. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. And it was April 27th of 22 when they decided to end the collections on loans under 100,000, and they're looking to reevaluate and amend that. And recommendation 3 is to ensure SBA does not end active collections pursuant to that decision that they made on COVID EIDL loans of 100,000 or less to borrowers who received multiple COVID EIDL loans that, when combined, exceeded 100,000. Okay, so they're saying if it exceeded 100,000, if you got 2 loans and it went over 100,000, then they're saying don't end that either. So what they're saying is at least try. They're telling the SBA at least let's try to get this as much as we can. If you can't get it, if the SBA personally can't get it, send it to the Treasury. If they can't get it, at least we tried, even if it's going to cost us money. And the SBA has indicated also that it will not end collection efforts on any amount that appears to be or has been reported as fraudulent, false, or misrepresented. Now, here's the part that we must understand as well. It says, additionally, the SBA plans to end active collections on these loans at the same time it would normally refer to the loans to the Treasury and undergo extensive collection efforts through the TOP and cross-servicing programs, which can take years. Years. It's after fraudulent loans here, ladies and gentlemen, for the most part. They're after fraudulent loans, especially any fraudulent loans that were over 100,000. Now we get to the part here. It says, as of on January 17th, 2023, we found SBA has flagged 455,126 COVID EIDLs with 100,000 or less loans, totaling $11.2 billion as potentially fraudulent. The SBA will not end active collections on those loans. Hold codes have not been assigned to all loans identified as potentially fraudulent. Therefore, unless the SBA adds a hold code for the loans identified by the PRAC and OIG as potentially fraudulent, we are concerned the agency will end active collections on these loans. Now, consultants' recommendation is to sell the COVID EIDL portfolio. I don't like that. But it doesn't matter what I like. That's what it is. The Debt Collection Improvement Act specifies that an agency may sell any non-tax debt that is delinquent for more than 90 days. It says the agency shall sell any non-tax delinquent debt after terminating collections actions if the Secretary of Treasury determines the sale of the debt is in the best interest of the United States. So it's up to the Treasury now. So this will go from Guzman to Yellen, and they'll evaluate the cost procedures of it, which Yellen would probably toss this one out. I'm going to leave a link to this so you all can read it down below. If I forget, somebody remind me in the comments. Okay, evaluation of agencies' response. I would like to go over this part here. They requested the OIG modify the report from ending active collections on delinquent COVID EIDL 19s to ending Treasury referrals to delinquent COVID EIDL 19s under 100,000. OIG notes that the SBA is ending active collections in which there will not be a foreclosure on property, collateral, wage garnishment, negotiated repayment, and use of private collection agencies, rather than solely ending Treasury referrals. Since ending active collections is accurate we have retained the original title of our report. Nice. Recommendation 1, status unresolved. Recommendation 2, status unresolved. So here in recommendation 1, they address the concerns of COVID IDL program that the administrator direct associate as administrator for the capital access unresolved. SBA management partially agreed with this. SBA management is very, it seems, anti-Congress. I gotta say that I'm reading this right here, and the SBA is definitely on the side of the small businesses, whereas the Congress and those pushing it are trying to really nail small businesses for this. And the SBA is holding their ground. I'm very actually pleased with the SBA holding the ground right now, keeping Congress at bay, keeping the push, the creditors at bay, especially in this time of year, season that we're in with the economy. The SBA management partially agreed with this recommendation, stating they will determine if a separate cost-benefit analysis will be necessary to make an informed decision to refer COVID IDLs of $100,000 or less to Treasury. This recommendation is unresolved, so they don't even know if they're going to report it to Treasury. It's unresolved because management only agreed to determine if conducting cost-benefit analysis was necessary, but didn't agree to conduct the analysis. The recommendation can be closed when management provides evidence that they have either conducted comprehensive benefit analysis or they have reversed the 2022 decision. So you've got to either do an analysis or reverse the decision. They're not going to reverse the decision. The SBA, as of right now, isn't going to reverse their decision. They're fine with their decision. They're happy with it. It's best for you as a small business owner, especially if you're struggling right now. Maybe when things get better in the future, they might go to another step here. But as of right now, the SBA is holding to what they said. The SBA's word is bond right now. Okay, and recommendation 2 concerns the EIDL program. We recommend the administrator direct associate administrator of the Office of Capital Access to reevaluate, amend, and appropriate the April 2022 decision to end active collection contingent on the outcome of the more comprehensive cost-benefit analysis. SBA agreed with this. They're going to go with the more cost-benefit analysis once they find out the cost, if they do. However, because it was contingent on their determination of whether they would perform a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis in accordance with recommendation 1, this recommendation is unresolved. So they don't even want to perform a cost prevention analysis. Recommendation 2 can be closed when the management provides evidence of a comprehensive cost-benefits analysis and evident evaluating the 2020 decision and to end active collections, or evidence they have reversed the 2022 decision on the portfolio of $100,000 or less. In accordance with our audit follow-up policy, we will attempt to reach an agreement with the management of unresolved recommendation. If the agreement is unreachable, we'll dispute an issue, designated audit follow-up official. Later, recommendation 3, which has been resolved. Here we go. They agreed on this. Anything over $100,000, whether it be in one loan or two, even if it got it and it took you two, you can't have two separate loans here with two separate numbers, same entity. But they did agree to that. And the system will flag and identify multiple loans to one borrower. And in recommendation 4, they're talking about if the loan appears to be fraudulent or misrepresented, you need to go and collect it regardless of the outcome of a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis. SBA said, nope. If it's going to cost us more to go after it than what it's worth, then we're not going after it. They partially agreed and were willing to share the data of those fraudulent companies, but they're not going to go after them. Recommendation 5, they are wanting to evaluate the portfolio in collaboration with the Treasury to determine if selling the portfolio, including delinquent loans of $100,000 or less, is in best interest of the government. The SBA disagree with that. The SBA is reserving the right to sell the loans at a later date, but didn't provide any analysis of what they conducted. And the method and the scope and the method that they used says they prepared management advisory to bring attention to serious concerns about SBA's decision to active collections on delinquent COVID IDLs with outstanding balances of $100,000 or less, excluding interest. We reviewed federal laws, regulations, policies, procedures, and internal memos pertaining to SBA COVID-19 EIDLs and federal debt collection procedures. We met with officials from the SBA office, Capital Access, to discuss ending the collections. We submitted a formal request for the information about the SBA's plan and procedures for ending collections on these loans to the SBA of Capital Access Management and evaluated their response. We obtained and analyzed COVID-19 idle data to evaluate potential impact of the policy decision to end such collections. We used employer EIN, social security numbers to identify borrowers who have received multiple COVID IDLs because SBA's database commingled borrowers in EINs SSNs. Some of the $9.6 billion of loans were made in 164,826 borrowers we identified as receiving multiple COVID EIDLs may have been dispersed to separate entities whose EINs and social security numbers matched. So all in all, and we go down to here, Hannibal Mike Ware, Inspector General, says, in response to the draft memorandum that we have just gone over, under $100,000, if you're not paying, they're going to refer borrowers to credit bureaus and ensure they include the Department of Treasury's do not pay list. So your credit score is going to be hit, and you're not going to get a tax refund. That's what they're doing. What it's looking like is right now they're holding off on selling this stuff to private entities. They're holding back right now. They're saying it's not time. It's not the right time to sell these to private bill collectors. In a nutshell. Well, hopefully this information brought more clarity and light to the situation of your EIDL loan. And if it did, please give us a like, subscribe, and a thumbs up, and get notified so that we can bring you more information on these when it comes around. I want to say I miss all my small business partners out there who were in us during the fight with the EIDL 10K grants for the loans and the modifications and all that fun stuff. Well, I can't say fun, but I'll say it anyway. I want to say I really miss you all. I love you all, and I want to see you all blessed and prosper. Thanks again for watching, and God bless you all.